Welcome to Ubuntu Graphical Server installation. Now we're going to go over how to set this up and have a look at how to go about this. And it's a little different than we're going to do the same way we do command line, but then we're going to do some command line options that will let us create a graphical. So if we go to ubuntu.com, we need to go to the server tab, and I'm assuming you're already familiar with Linux if you're doing this video. Because if you're not, then starting with servers is not the place to start. You need to start with the Ubuntu intro video that I went over just a moment ago. So that's what you want to use. Alright, so we can download our Ubuntu server here. I did have problems with 13.04 going graphical on it, so I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to do 12.04. I didn't have a problem with that, and so I'm going to get that set up and working with that. Okay, so 64-bit here, long-term service, sounds great for the server. You click on that, you can start your download. Now waiting for it. Okay, cool. Pops up. Save it to where you want it on the hard disk. I already have it saved right here, so I'm not going to save again. But you would just hit the save button at this point in time. Alright. Once that downloads, you can then... Okay, so now it's downloaded. We're going to launch VMware Player. And if you don't know how to use VMware Player, how to do it, install it, check out the other basic Ubuntu video I went over on how to do that. And we're just going to select the ISO and do it. Or if you need to burn off on a CD image, again, that's the intro Ubuntu video. I'm assuming you've already been working with Linux, you know how to install it, you know how to use virtual machines, things of that nature. If you don't, you need to go check out one of my intro videos as it goes over that stuff. Alright, so from there, we're going to then go over VMware Player here. And let's see here. Alright, so we're going to create a new virtual machine. And we're going to say, I will install the operating system later. The virtual machine will be created with a blank hard disk. It's rather important. We are doing Ubuntu 64-bit again. Ubuntu 64-bit, let's call it 12.04 server, graphical server. Okay, so let's see here, 12.4 graphical server. Alright, something like that. I'm going to change this location of where it's going to go to. So let's go check it out. Okay, let's see here. Now, I need to put it in... come on, let me scroll. Alright, that one there, and then... Sorry, I'm moving my mouse wheel and it's just not scrolling. Alright, there we go. And then I need to create a new one here for the demonstration of this purposes here for this. Let's see here, Ubuntu. This will be server. Let's call it graphical server, shall we? .04, like that. Okay, so with that, select that right there, and next. I'm going to put this to a single file, and I'm going to say 50 gigs because I like putting 50 gigs in for these. Alright, next. And customize hardware. Alright, so I'm going to leave 4 gigs of RAM for it. I'm just going to click this 4 gig here. I'm going to give it 2 processors instead of 1 on my cores here. So technically I have a quad core i7, so it really comes up with like 8 cores, so 2 cores being spared for it's no big deal. So, you know, it all matters for what you have for your computing capabilities. If I go here to use ISO image here, I can say browse. And I can back out of the VM here. I can go over to Linux here. And then we see our different ISOs here. And then in this case, I'm going to do the 12.04-2 server, AMD 64. And this one worked for me for doing a graphical. The 13 did not, so that's why I didn't go with graphical on. Plus, this also has long-term support, so hey. Here we're just going to NAT here. If you need to do bridge, replicate physical, that's how you do it there. USB sound card, printer, nothing changed on there, and accelerate 3D graphics. Awesome. So basically we're set to go. More or less, you're changing memory, processors, and this one right here. Unless you need to change network adapter, that might be something you have to change, but more likely than not, NAT is fine for you. All right, so go ahead and say close on that, and go ahead and say finish. Okay, so I'm just going to double click this. I could also click play, but I'm just going to double click it because my cursor was right there, and that works. Remind me later, and say OK. Click in here and say English. Alright, so we're going to install a Ubuntu server. And I said enter for that. And we wait. Okay, cool. English again. United States for me. Let's see here. Do you want the keyboard layout to be detected? No, you do not. It's horrible. Just say no. It's so much faster to select it like this. Enter. Yes, enter. Good. We're good to go. If you detect it, it will detect it, but it takes so much more effort, so many more questionnaires. You don't want to do that. I guess it's for people who don't realize what kind of keyboard they have. But you know, if you live in the U.S., it's a US, basically. All right. And your respective country and your different language for your respective keyboards. It's kind of straightforward. All right. Okay. Name it what you want. I'm going to call mine Ubuntu server. Just, I don't know. I want to. Name yours whatever you want, however. And this is going to be the name of your computer, aka the name of your server. So this would be the name of the server on the network, to be a little more clear on that. Continue at this point in time. Alright. Full name of a new user. Alright, I am Nate Nestler. My account will be Nate. That's fine. And choose a password for your new user. It's going to ask you again. Alright, do I want to encrypt my directory? No, I really don't. You can though if you want, but I don't want to. Alright, we're doing the install. And it detected it correctly. I am American New York. American New York means Eastern Standard Time, so if that's what you're at, ba-da-da. I don't live in New York, but I actually live in Georgia. But yeah, that's gonna work there. Yes, correct time zone. Okay, we want to use the entire disk and set up an LVM. We do not want to do the entire disk without the LVM. LVM is super important because that's your logical volume management, and it lets you resize your partitions dynamically. So after installation, without having to reformat or reinstall or anything of the sort. So for that reason alone, you do not want to not do that. All right, VMware Player is going to be the drive. Right, changes the disk configure LVM. Yes, you do. Yes to all these right here. Continue. And then right change it to the disk. Yes. Note you can go in and manually set this up too. I go over how to do that in the Fedora 17 video where I go into detail for how to break down the LVM partitions and everything. So if you want to see how to do that, I got it covered in there. Probably really should have gone over that since that's more of a server type setup configuration, breaking into the different partitions. Essentially, I'll just kind of tell you what you do. You break out different partitions like var, for instance, is where your servers are going to be. So you can break that one out separately, break out home separately, break out slash for the root directory, break that one out separately. Swap partition, you have to create that one, make it like, I don't know, 5 gigs. You have to break out boot partition, so slash boot. And then you also need to break out some other partitions too. For instance, slash TMP is a good idea for temporary files. That way, in case the folder goes haywire and you get tons of stuff getting dumped to it, it doesn't eat up your whole operating system and crash the server. So that's really good to avoid that. If you have to do anything with opt or whatever, you will need to break out that partition too. So basically, if you're doing Oracle, like Oracle 8i or 11i or something like that, or whatever, one of those oracles, then they do use opt like crazy, and then in which case you're going to have to set up the opt folder. So FYI, there you go. And then you set your respective sizes for them for each one. So it just depends on the size of your drive. If you set it as LVM, you can resize them anyways without having to wipe everything out. So it's really cool. And so you don't have to lose all your work. So this kind of goes through and installs it. So if you need to use it, so I don't need to set up an HTTP proxy, so I'm good to go. If you do, this is where you set it up. And it's got it where it says user pass at host :port, etc. You actually fill that information. Don't type out port. Type in the port, like 880, etc. So we're doing it is doing a download installation for us of this stuff. There's a couple things we're going to want to do. And one of the things we're going to want to do is we're going to have to do an update right after we get this installed before we can do our desktop installation. And that's actually a really important step. Otherwise, we can't do our desktop installation to create graphically. So we'll go over that in just a bit here after this gets done. But basically, that's how we want to set this up. We're doing it. Let's see here. Yep, it's all command line at first here. We're going to convert the command line one into a graphical. Now, if you're doing this on the cloud and it's on a remote server or something like that, you do want to keep it just command line. You do not want to do a graphical. And the reason why is because you're going to be eating up tons of bandwidth, stuff like that, in order to edit graphically. Yes, you can set up Type VNC or Tiger VNC, or however you want to call it, and graphically go in and do the network remote administration, but it really does eat up a lot of extra computation, and it does eat up a lot of extra video. It's as secure as it is, it's not going to be as secure as SSH. And so, SSH is the best way to go about that for doing remote administration. Really, if you're doing remote administration, SSH is probably the way to go. You could also use something like webmin, the web access. Again, you're going to have to secure that thoroughly. Otherwise, someone can remote in and take control of your server. So yeah, absolutely, it'd have to be secured. SSH is kind of nice because you can just kind of send your commands back and forth, no problem, and secure it with no issue as far as that goes. But it's going to take a little bit of time, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and then come back after it's done. And if we get to another prompt or whatever, I'll bring the video back again. I just don't want to spend a lot of time waiting for this processing bar to go across. Keep the video a little shorter. At this point, if you want, you could pause the video, and then we'll be back when we get to another spot here. Alright, cool. Okay, so it's finished processing all that installation there, and so now we're down to here, and I just want to say that I want to install security updates automatically. You can manage with landscape if you want, but we don't have landscape going, so we're not going to manage with landscape because that's a separate management software. It's really nice though. But I do want to use automatic updates, and I do want to install security updates because that's important, and just keeps our server basically from getting hacked as much, significantly less. Let's put it that way. Like way. Most of the servers that get hacked on Linux, which is rare, very rare. Most of the time when that happens, it's from administrators not keeping their stuff up to date. So if we put the security updates automatically in there, guess what? It helps prevent that significantly. Alright, so let's do that. Okay, so a couple things we can start running on here. We could run things like OpenSSH server. We could run a LAMP server, run a DNS server if we wanted to. We could even run a mail server if we really wanted. You could have a print server if you want one of those, or Samba, Tomcat Java server if you want one of those. You get all these different types of servers you can run. So very, very cool. I'm not going to run a print server on this thing, but if I wanted to, I could. And just select the ones you want, basically, what servers you want to run, and this kind of like presets it up for you a good bit. Like, you won't believe how much of the actual configuration and setup it does. It's really pretty nice. You don't have to do much in order to get something going, so that's pretty cool. Alright, so I'm just going to go click I'm going to say tabbed it over to continue, because you have to tab through these, and then it's going to go ahead and start doing this install. Alright, so it's going to start asking me what do I want for the password for my root. So, just go ahead and give yourself a password that you will remember. Keyword is that you will remember. Alright. In this case, I am going to be doing, for me, see, I'm not going to actually be on the internet, see. So, because for this demonstration purposes, I'm not doing this as an actual website or online presence here. So this is just locally, and so I'm just going to say local here because we're really not going to be online. So Ubuntu server works great for me. That'll be our fully qualified domain name. Now, if I wasn't doing this locally, then of course it'd be a different scenario, and then I'd have to have it registered and blah 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 blah, as etc etc etc. But since I'm just doing this locally, that's fine. And this also is how you would basically go about this for the most part for cloud. Like if you're doing Amazon Cloud or something of that nature, it's very close to this. You just load in the virtual machine online in their interface, and then you get to come up and a prompt like this that you SSH into, and then you're able to do the installation and the setup and all that. It's pretty cool. It's really, really neat, actually. So we don't get all the benefits of 13.4 because they do have Juju and some other stuff like that where you can just rapidly, easily set up like the Django or maybe Tomcat or some of the other server installation setups with Apache and all these different technologies. You can easily just deploy them with very little work or effort. And that's pretty cool. And here we go. It's just installing Dovecot. Dovecot's awesome. We got Tomcat going in there now. NTFS. Etc. 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 So yeah, we can actually host Java server pages along with that of other ones too. Apache, LAMP. So PHP, etc. So it's great if we need to do like a developer graphical server. Might be going, well, I always do it command line. Well, no, if you're actually programming, no, you don't. You better make it graphical because you're going to need to make it graphical so you can test out your different servers and things of that nature before you move it to the actual server. So it's a great way of getting a full-blown production environment test without having to put it up on the actual server. And you just develop out from there. Yeah, I do want to install the grub bootloader into the master boot record. MBR. Alright, it's telling me that I'm done. So I'm going to say continue to that. And it's going to restart. Reboot. Come on up with the actual installation. Alright, and so I just basically say yes to generic there. And then we're going to start our big ubiquitous update. Mega update. I'll show you how to do that so you don't have to say yes a bunch of times. Which is really nice. It's great not to have to say yes, 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 yes. That's everything. Alright. Everything's going pretty good for the most part here. It's coming on up nicely. And still booting up. And we're up. Okay, cool. So put in your username and your password that you set up. You're the administrator. Okay, cool. And it gives me some statistics and everything on this, which is really cool. Really nice. Let me know what's going on, how many users are logged in, etc. It's just really slick. I love that. But anyways, if I come in here, and I can also say sudo, and here I say app-get space -y, and then update like that. So again, that's sudo space app-get dash y space update. And the reason for the dash y, it keeps you from having to say yes to everything all the time. So it just makes life so much easier. So go ahead and run that right there. Put in your password again. And then we're going to run untteen updates. And there it is. It's getting going, and here it comes. And it's going to start reading the package information, and then it's going to start doing the updates. Alright, we're done. Cool. So then I need to do another one. Sudo space app-get space -y space install space Ubuntu desktop desktop, like that. And this is going to install the entire graphical desktop that we're missing. So essentially that's the big thing that we needed in order to make the GUI happen. And it's going to take about 36 minutes, it says. And I have a fast connection, about 30 megs per second, and it's still going to take a while. So, you know, you're going to be stuck with pretty much the same thing probably. Alright, so I'm just going to pause the video and then come back once this is done downloading, installing. Then we'll look at what to do from there. Alright, we're done with the download update. So now I'm just going to type in startx and hit enter. And startx is all one word, lowercase like that, and starts the GUI graphical interface, basically. And so now we have a GUI graphical Ubuntu server. And we got all the luxuries of the GUI interface here. Beautiful, yes, awesome. But it is a full-blown, you know, full-blown server. And we can have do our custom edits to our Apache or whatever in here, DNS, etc. Bind, whatever. Oh, we're ready to go, and that was that. So very sweet, very cool. And now you're ready to go with development. Cool. So with this, that was the end of getting a Ubuntu server, graphical server set up and going. My name is Nate Nestler, and this is for Hyperactive Studios. Thank you very much.